There's this strange, very specific feeling that shows up in midlife, and it doesn't knock loudly. It doesn't announce itself. It just kind of slips in quietly while you're doing something completely normal, like standing in your kitchen, reheating your coffee for the third time, staring at a life you built and thinking, wait, this used to feel right. So why doesn't it anymore? And almost immediately, your brain tries to fix it. Maybe you're just tired. Maybe you need a vacation. Maybe it's hormones. Maybe you need to just get back on track. So, you do what you've always done. You just push it down. You stay busy. You keep everything moving because that's who you've been for a long time, right? Like probably most of your adult life. The one who handles it, the one who shows up, the one who makes sure life keeps working. And on paper, it is working. You've built something solid. Responsibilities are handled. People can count on you. You've created a life that looks stable, respectable, even successful, depending upon who's looking. And yet, there's just this quiet little voice that keeps showing up anyway. Not loud enough to cause a scene, but persistent enough that you can't completely ignore it. I used to think that voice meant something was wrong. Like I had somehow lost myself along the way. Like there was this real me just buried under years of responsibility and routine. And if I could just dig her out, then everything would feel right again, right? But lately, I've been sitting with a different thought. One that feels a little uncomfortable, but also weirdly freeing. What if I didn't lose myself? What if I just outgrew the life that version of me built? Because let's be honest, the woman you were in your 30s, even your 40s, she made choices based on who she was then, what she valued, what she believed, what she thought life was supposed to look like. And she wasn't wrong, and she wasn't right all the time either. She was just doing her best with what she knew and what she had. So she built something real, something that probably carried you and a whole lot of other people pretty far. But here's the part that no one really explains. Growth doesn't ask for permission. It doesn't check in and say, hey, are you ready to feel differently about everything you once chose? It just happens, quietly, gradually, until one day you're sitting in a life that still works, but no longer feels like a full body yes. And that realization, it's not dramatic. It's subtle. It shows up in little moments, like realizing you don't have the same tolerance for things you used to brush off. Or noticing that the things you used to push through now just feel heavy. Or catching yourself thinking, if I'm being really honest, I don't even enjoy this anymore. And that, my friends, that's the moment where things start to feel confusing. Because now you're not dealing with something being obviously broken. You're dealing with something being quietly out of alignment. And that is harder because there's nothing to point to, no clear problem to solve, no obvious reason to change, just a feeling, a knowing, a shift you can't quite explain but also can't unfeel. So, what do? We question ourselves. We tell ourselves we should be grateful. We remind ourselves of everything we've built. We minimize the feeling. Other people have it worse. This is just a phase. I shouldn't feel this way. But here's the thought I keep coming back to. What if nothing has to be wrong for something to no longer feel right? What if this isn't dissatisfaction, but awareness? Because maybe this version of you sees things differently now, values different things, needs different things, has less patience for what doesn't feel aligned, and more desire for what does. And that doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you honest. I think about the woman I used to be. And I don't judge her, well, most of the time, but I do respect her. She showed up. She figured things out. She carried a lot. She made great decisions and she made some not so great decisions. But I also don't expect her life to fit who I am now. And maybe that's where we get stuck. We keep trying to make an old life fit a new version of ourselves. We adjust, we tolerate, we convince, instead of asking the quieter, truer question, what actually feels like me now? And that's a big question. And I'm not talking about blowing your life up. Absolutely not. This isn't about waking up tomorrow and changing everything. It's smaller than that, quieter than that, but also more powerful. It's in the way you start telling the truth to yourself. I don't want to do that anymore. That drains me. That version of me is done. It's in the boundaries you didn't used to have. The conversations you're no longer willing to entertain. The expectations you're starting to release, including the ones you put on yourself. And maybe most importantly, it's in allowing yourself to outgrow things without turning it into a personal failure. Because outgrowing is not the same as losing. It's evolving. And if I'm being really honest, there's something kind of beautiful about that. A little unsettling, yes, but also a little exciting. Because if your life no longer fits the way it used to, that means there's space now. Space for something that actually does fit. Something more aligned, more honest, less forced, more you. So maybe the real question isn't, where did I go? Maybe it's, who have I become and what kind of life fits her now? I don't have all the answers. I'm still figuring it out too. But I do know I know this. You didn't lose yourself. You just grew into someone your old life can't fully hold anymore. And I don't know that might not be something to fear. That might be the beginning of something really, really good. So tell me, have you ever felt like you outgrew your own life? Not in a dramatic way, just in that quiet, hard to explain kind of way. I'd really love to hear your story, so drop me something in the comments. And if this conversation felt a little too familiar, then go ahead and click that subscribe button, because we're going to keep talking about all the things that no one really prepared us for in this stage of life, but somehow we're all experiencing it anyway. And that's it. I'll just see you next time in the next video. And you can always catch me on my weekly podcast, This Stage of Life. And I'll see you soon.